Join me as I use baskets, buckets, books, and boxes to transform my home into a cozy autumn haven with some fun DIY decor ideas. Welcome to the Chic Show. Today's collaboration is Halloween, hosted by House on Noble and Buffy Designs. Their information and the playlist is linked in the description box below. First, we're going to start with this Halloween bucket from Walmart. I was excited to see they had black and white pumpkins this year. This one, I'm going to be using some tissue paper. I'm just going to tear it into strips. Then I'm going to coat the bucket with Mod Podge and add these strips of tissue paper on the bucket. The tissue paper does not need to be flat or unwrinkled. Wrinkles are exactly what we want. We want this to look like it is more textured and more like cement. I only added one layer of tissue paper to my bucket, but I think probably two would have been even better. Once I have covered the entire bucket and the Mod Podge is dry, I did go back and gave it a coat of white chalk paint. Once I'd finished the white chalk paint and it had dried, I colored in or painted in the face with black chalk paint. Also, something that I didn't feature here was what I did for the handle. I used one of these Halloween chains from Dollar Tree and just hooked it on to the edge of the bucket. This is a very simple DIY. I'm using one of these black jack-o'-lantern buckets from Dollar Tree and some gold poster board. I didn't want to spray paint the inside of the bucket gold because with the face being on both sides, you wouldn't have really gotten to see the highlight of the face. So I used some gold poster board and just taped it inside the bucket so that the face would now be gold. Once you fill it inside with some greenery or something like that, you get a simple but elegant look. For this project, I'm using a thrifted basket and I'm going to take it outside and give it a coat of orange spray paint. Once I have it dried and I bring it back inside, I'm using some Waverly Antique Wax to add to the basket just to give it kind of a dirty, worn look. You can add as much or as little of this antique wax as you like. And I did notice that once I started rubbing the antique wax, some of the stripes that were originally on the basket started showing through more. So I suppose it was a different type of product than the rest of the basket. I'm not sure. But I do love the way it turned out. Now I'm using some watered down white chalk paint and I'm just going to be flicking it with this chip brush just to add a little bit of detail and whimsy to this pumpkin. I then did the same thing with some watered down black chalk paint. I decided my pumpkin needed some leaves, so I'm using some of these little burlap leaves that I'm sure I got from Dollar Tree, and I'm tracing around on a book page, and I'm going to be layering the book page on top of the burlap leaves. So I am cutting the leaves a little bit smaller than the actual outline. Once I had them cut out, I did glue the book page leaf on top of the burlap leaf. Now I'm just going to add some extra embellishments. For the peduncle, I'm using one of these wood corn holders that I thrifted, and I'm just going to stick that through the basket. I hot glued my paper embellishment just to hold it in place, and then I added the leaves. And to the other side of the peduncle, I added some Spanish moss. I love the cozy autumn vibe that this little wicker pumpkin adds. This next project was inspired by something I saw on Pinterest, so I'm using 3 of these little wooden trays from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be painting each one using Waverly Antique Wax. I'll stain the inside, outside, top, and bottom. Now that all the boxes are stained, I'm going to be painting the front of each box a different color. I'm going to be adding a word to the front of each of these boxes: tricks, treats, and sweets. So I printed those out from my computer and used some carbon paper to trace them onto the front of the boxes. And once I had traced those words on the front, I used a coordinating paint pen to fill in the letters. I then went around each of the letters with another paint pen just to highlight them. Because my white paint pen wasn't at its best, I did lightly sand down all the fronts of the boxes once it had completely dried. This kind of helped disguise my imperfect painting. I want to thank our hosts today. Be sure and check out their channels and the playlist and the hashtag Halloween2024 on YouTube and on Instagram. Here's another video I think you might like. Thanks so much for watching. Remember to share the chic. Bye now.